Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my Corsair. Over the last couple of weeks, a lot of random things has happened to this Corsair and a lot of progress has been made on this character, and I would like to share it with you guys. To start off, as you guys have just seen, I did manage to get a Endless Terror on my Corsair. The first pitch to be gained on this character so far, I believe, and it is a pretty exciting one. I'll show you guys what I managed to do with it a little bit later in the video, alongside a bunch of other upgrades that I have made on this character. To start off though, I just wanted to share with you guys my attempts at solving Hard Darknail and Sea Slime for the first time. Up until this point, I've been training as many bosses as I could to be able to increase the chances of this character getting arcane armors and arcane weapons. But now that the character is currently about 50 mil combat power, I believe at this point that I'm doing Hard Darknail, it's about 48 mil. I am able to solo the bosses, and even though they are long runs, I was able to sneak out a clear on Hard Darknail. Thankfully, with Corsair's really good kit, it has really good survivability in the boss, it has a short cooldown iframe, and the ability to glide is just really strong in Darknail, so it was just a matter of staying alive and just constantly doing my best to be able to take down the boss. Nothing too crazy here about Darknail. It did take still about 20 minutes or so to clear the boss, but I was pretty confident that I could clear it. I had the damage, I just needed to actually sit in the boss and pop all the buffs that I needed to be able to clear it. Similarly, I decided to attempt a solo at Chaos Slime, and Chaos Slime was more or less just to see if I could do it. This is not really a boss that I like to take a long time in, because the only real drop that you get from it is the slime ring. And to be quite honest, I was already happy running this boss in a party. I only really did it for completionist sake, so at about 50 mil combat power, I was in fact able to solo both Sea Slime and Hard Darknail. From here, I'm going to fast forward about a week or so, because we did have a 5, 10, 15 event that I plan to take advantage of to be able to get this character a lot of different gains. The first thing that I wanted to try to do was to see whether or not I could make the Endless Terror usable. But I did the rough math and I thought to myself, unless the Endless Terror is going to beat out a 22-star ring, which is something I considered going for on this Corsair, it really wasn't that much of a gain over my current rings. And it'd be very expensive for me to have to Star Force it to 19 and then cube it for a 3-line or equivalent, only for it to be only slightly better than my current gear. So I decided on this 5, 10, 15 event to start on the ET and try to send it to 21. I spent a good chunk of my money. I went to the Star Forcing event with roughly 65 bill, and unfortunately for me, I spent close to 20 bill on just the Endless Terror alone, and it didn't manage to get to 21. A little bit disappointing. I was really hoping to be able to use a lot of the money to make gains on a bunch of other characters. I didn't spend all 60 bill on just the Corsair. There's not really much I can do about that, unfortunately. I was really hoping that the following gains that I would attempt to go for would be either a lot cheaper or a lot less painful than what I experienced with the ET. Next up, I decided to Star Force up my Twilight mark. I had a Twilight mark already at 17, and I had one spare from a Lucid or Will run that I did previously throughout the week. And because I only had one spare, the number that I was planning on settling on would be 19. If it didn't get to 19, I was going to get the new one back to 17, so I felt like I didn't risk very much. And thankfully, this Twilight mark did end up going to 19 star, netting me a overall gain so far at this point of 2 stars. Next up, I decided to Star Force my Slime Ring in the similar fashion. I only had one spare at this point, and I was also only going to stop at 19. Thankfully, it was very cheap and also ended up at 19. At this point, I had spent an extra 5 bill to get an additional 4 stars, and honestly, I was pretty happy at this point. There weren't too many things I wanted to do on this Corsair, but the upcoming Star Forcing was the part where I was a little bit scared of. I don't know if you guys have seen the previous video, but I did end up spending quite a lot of money trying to 21 star a Meister Ring. And this was going to be round 2 of Star Forcing Meister Rings. This is because, as you guys can see on the screen, on the top left ring slot on my character, I do have a Superior Golix ring. I managed to get enough coins to buy this ring a few days before the Star Forcing event, and what I wanted to do was get this ring to 20 star, much like how I approached my other superior gears. Of course, I didn't really know how much I was gonna spend on this event. I only had 2 Meister rings crafted at this point, but I did have the materials to make a bunch more. I was really hoping that the ring would go to 21 really quick, and thankfully luck was on my side. For the 13th ring, it managed to streak to 21 star. Not having to go out of my way to craft more and then come back into the star forcing room really saved a bit of time, and I'm just glad that it only took 13 rings. It definitely could have taken a little bit more and a lot more money with it, but I managed to high roll on the Meister rings this time around, so I didn't have to feel too bad about crafting more. I did sacrifice an ET for a relatively cheap 21 star ring for my superior Golix ring, but that is okay. After a little bit more star forcing on my other characters, I did eventually come around back on my Corsair, and I spent some money just cubing up my superior Golix ring. Now that it's at 20 stars, I'm pretty happy to just give it a 2-line. I wasn't sure at this point if I wanted to go for a 3-line ring, but because there was a chance that I would push it past 20 stars in the future, I didn't want to overinvest too much on the potential that I might eventually replace. After a little bit of cubing, I did manage to land on a 2-line on the ring. By the end of the event, I went from about 48 mil combat power to close to 56 mil combat power. A significant jump, and what better way to test our gains than in Black Mage. Within my guild, we have a few parties that were willing to take me on Black Mage, and I decided to go with my guild leader on this one. As of recording this is actually my second time running Black Mage on my Corsair. I had run Black Mage on the last month as well, but I wanted to see how fast it will take me to do sufficient damage in Black Mage. Going in with a little bit more levels this time, I'm currently 271 as of running Black Mage, and I am still missing a little bit of Arcane Force, but it's definitely a lot higher than I did on the first run. I just needed to do about 23 T throughout the entire fight, and within just the first burst in P2, I was pretty much already there. I just needed to do maybe 1 or 2 more bursts throughout the fight, and I would be very safe getting blue dot in Black Mage. There's not really much to say about the boss at this point for me. I'm just mostly getting carried and just needed to make sure that I could hit blue dot without slowing down my party, and thanks to all the gains that I did on the 5, 10, 15, and of course the beautiful Raw 4 that I'm currently using, I was able to blue dot very comfortably and was able to get some drops from Black Mage. In this second Black Mage run of mine, I was able to get a pretty fun drop. I've only been playing this character for about 2 months. I just got my superior Golix ring, so I've been playing the character relatively consistently for about at least 60 days here. And on this second Black Mage clear of mine, I finally got my Arcane weapon. This is easily one of the biggest gains I could have gotten on this character. I was really willing to buy a Arcane weapon, but I was convinced to not do so, just because I was already clearing Chaos Tenebris and all the lower bosses with relative ease already. So I really didn't need to buy an Arcane weapon. And of course, the first thing that I did was try to cube it and Starforce it up. I decided to go for just a 16 star weapon. The weapon just by itself at 16 stars was significantly better than my current Absolab weapon, and the fact that it now currently puts me at 2 set Arcane, it is quite a big difference. I also gave it a reasonable pot. I just wanted to go for 13 and 10 attack, but it also came with an extra 10% damage, which is amazing. Just swapping my Absol weapon into an Arcane weapon gave me 10 million combat power. Quite a ridiculous jump in combat power, thanks to the fact that the sheer amount of attack power that you get from an Arcane weapon is significantly better. And that is currently where I am at on this Corsair. As you guys can see here, I am getting pretty close to leveling up to 272. And my main goal here is to slowly get this character to 275. My goal, of course, is to be able to solo Black Mage eventually, and I'm also trying to make it so that my solo is relatively fast. The first time I soloed Black Mage on my Battle Mage was a close to 1 hour run, and I do not really want to repeat that. So I am trying to get this character reasonably strong, and my main thing that I'm waiting for right now is actually just my Liberation. The Liberated weapon is a lot better than, of course, the Arcane weapon, but along the way there are a few things that I would like to upgrade. So I'm just going to go through some of the things on my character here. Most of the items, as you guys can see, are either 3 lines on the potential or close to it, with the exception of some of the superior Golix equipment. The Golix ring, pendant, and earring are all currently 20 stars. And until I'm pretty confident that I'm never going to push the stars, they're probably going to stay at 2 line. The superior earrings might eventually go to 22, but I haven't really decided whether or not I wanted to commit on that yet. But other than that, there are some items that are missing stars. Of course, my Twilight Mark and my Slime Ring are both missing 2 stars. I would like them to get to 21 star. And I would also like to eventually replace my Absolab gear. As of right now, I am only using the Arcane Umbra gloves, but I am going to be hopefully getting some more armor pieces in the future. I haven't seen any armor boxes, but I am building up a little bit of a stash of these droplets from Will and Lucid. Worst case scenario, I can decide to buy them from the shop, but I'm trying not to because my droplet stash is actually quite small. I probably have enough droplets to buy maybe one piece at the moment. As you guys can see, I have about 130 or so here, which implies that if I want to buy more Arcane pieces, I'd have to pay for them, and I really do not want to pay money for droplets. It's quite expensive. But I would like to replace these Absolab pieces with Arcane armor. The main reason is because when I do eventually liberate, I realized this was an issue for a lot of my other characters too, is that I do not get the set bonus anymore on this Arcane piece. The Genesis weapon is a lucky weapon, so it does take the place of the weapon in any set bonus, but you do need a minimum of 3 pieces of the original set. One of the reasons why the Genesis weapon is so strong is because it becomes a Fafnir weapon as well. It does get the 4 set bonus here for 30% boss damage. But when I liberate, I will still be wearing an Arcane glove, and because it's only 1 Arcane armor, I don't even get the set bonus. So ideally, I would like to switch off of the Absolabs completely. Or I can do the Maniac move and just swap the Arcane glove back into an Absolab glove. That seems really silly though, because I do have 2 lines of crit damage here. It has a better flame, and the item is just purely better. So hopefully I get some armor boxes in the future, and I'll slowly try to transition over onto Arcanes. Other than that, there is another gain that I made on this Corsair, which was actually extremely surprising. Within the Familiar shop, we are able to buy these mystical Familiar cards, which allow us to reroll our fams. And one of the fams that a lot of people are chasing after is the large drop fam. As you guys can see here, this character does have a large drop fam already, and as a matter of fact, it had 2 at some point. By the time that I managed to go for so many fams and so many uniques, I did end up getting 2 large drop fams, which is already pretty crazy. But after using one of the mystical familiar cards, I managed to land on my 3rd large drop fam. But this one came along with 40% IED. I'm really happy with this because I don't need to swap my fams out after I do my bosses, which is really convenient on a mule. The only downside is I don't really have 2 other fams. I've been using 2 large HP fams alongside this IED fam. I haven't had too much luck getting other damage fams. I do have this 20% IED, and I believe this one as well is another 20% IED. Nothing too special in terms of the damage fams, but having a 40% IED with large drop is very convenient. And that is pretty much it for this character's updates right now in terms of its gear. Now I just want to finish off the video by showing you guys just how fast this character actually clears a lot of the bosses. It is currently sitting at close to 65 mil combat power after getting its Arcane weapon and its 4-set superior, and also getting a few stars on the 5-10-15 event. I'm going to start off here by showing you guys my V-Healer clear. V-Healer is usually the benchmark that I try to set my mules on, because based off of my V-Healer clears, I can also have a good estimate of how fast I'm expected to clear the other bosses. And personally, I needed to know how fast this character can clear V-Healer, so then I could judge its speed in Black Mage. My goal is to be able to solo Black Mage like I said earlier, but I do also want to clear the boss within about 45 minutes or so. Especially so because we are having a Legion Champion update very soon, and our requirement is to be able to clear that boss in 45 minutes. To me, I needed to get my V-Healer solo close to about 10 minutes or so. If I can clear V-Healer within about 10 minutes, the 45-minute Black Mage run is a lot more realistic. There are a few things in my V-Healer run that I needed to keep in mind. The first thing is that I don't have full Arcane Force at the moment. I am still missing about a month or two's worth of dailies to be able to max out my Arcane Force. I'm only doing about 1.3 times damage to her as opposed to 1.5. So my numbers are a little bit skewed at the moment. I'm also obviously missing a lot of levels for Black Mage, but I'm not taking that into consideration for the time being. Going back to the run, within my first Origin burst, I had already done about 1 bar's worth of damage, about 25% of hard V-Healer. This is a ridiculous pacing for a mule, and the fact that this character isn't even max Arcane Force yet really puts this character in a really good position. I'm feeling pretty confident that by the time I hit 275 and max Arcane Force, the Black Mage solo run should be relatively easy. Also, given the fact that I'm waiting for this character to actually be liberated before I even attempt my Black Mage run, really makes it a lot easier for me as well. I'm going to skip forward to the end of the boss run here, and as you guys can see, I was actually able to clear V-Healer in close to under 10 minutes, pretty much on the pacing that I wanted to clear on this character. honestly, it is really all thanks to the Raw 4. The Raw 4 is definitely carrying my character's damage, and I'm so glad that I managed to get it early. It's a very, very lucky character at the moment, and I want to make full usage out of this Ring of Restraint, and I want to go for these boss clears as soon as possible. Moving on to the next boss, of course we have Darknell. Darknell's run usually is a little bit faster than V-Healer, and that is the case as well for my Corsair. I was able to take down Darknell in just about 9 minutes here, 2 minutes faster than my V-Healer run. For Chaos Gloom, the only thing that I really wanted to know was how much damage my character could do with its full burst, with guild skills, and with Origin. I wanted the Origin burst to hopefully do more than about 30% damage, so if I do enter the boss, I'll be able to open the eye twice and really increase the speed of my run. On the Origin burst of my character, it started off at about 55% by the time my cooldowns came back up, and after completing my burst, the boss's HP was close to 20%. So my character as of right now was actually able to do roughly 30% in one Origin burst, which is exactly the pacing that I was hoping to hit. I am relying a little bit on the event buffs as of right now, so perhaps I do need it to get a little bit stronger than it is to be able to consistently double open the eye, but given the fact that it's relatively close already, I'm super happy with the damage that this character is doing. This also meant that I was able to do the entirety of C10 without even having to refresh my guild skills. And the fact that I'm currently working on so many characters right now, having just a faster weekly experience really does help. Just speed up the process a bit. Not having to spend as much time in bosses is always a nice thing. And just to round things out, I wanted to try my damage against one of my favorite bosses, Hardwill. Hardwill is a boss that I tend not to run with guild skills on, just because I usually use my guild skills for V-Healer, Darknell, and Sea Gloom. But I'm at the same time still hoping that my Hardwill run is relatively quick. And this character really did prove itself here without guild skills as well. I was able to clear Hardwill within about 15 minutes without my guild skills, which is really nice because that would put my Lucid and Will run together being done in half an hour without needing additional damage as well. Again, this is just more of a quality of life thing, and thankfully in a future patch we will have guild skills being pretty close to 100% uptime, and just knowing that the speed of the runs are just going to get faster from this point onwards is just a fantastic feeling. At this point, I'm pretty happy to say that the Corsair, in terms of its items, is pretty close to done. I don't really see myself pushing too many stars left on this character. Like I said, I am missing a few stars here and there on some of my accessories, and of course trying to transition over onto Arcane armors, but for the most part, I'm happy to stop my spending here on this character. By the time I hit 275 as well, I should have a good amount of fragments that I can put into my Hexa Matrix. My Hexa Matrix is looking pretty healthy at the moment. I am only really focusing on the main things that the Corsair Discord have suggested me to spend my points on, and very soon I'm going to be holding out on spending my fragments to be able to use them on the new masteries that will be coming out in about 2 months. Like I said in the previous video, I don't really see myself doing too many updates on this Corsair, but I am working on a bunch of characters right now, and I will be updating you guys on the new projects that I'm currently working on, and hopefully you guys will enjoy those videos as well. Thank you guys again for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give the video a like, it helps me out a lot. And if you would like to see more from me, please consider subscribing to the channel. Take care guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.